Welcome back, friends. Today, Andie sits down with Kylee Bandy, the founder of After Loss Advisors. When Kylee unexpectedly lost her father in 2018, her family struggled to deal with the nitty-gritty details of loss while processing their unimaginable grief. That's why Kylee set out to provide a solution to this problem. She now provides the services that she wished her family had had access to when they were in the thick of it. We hope this conversation brings support and clarity to everyone who hears it.
Okay, hello everyone, and today I am so excited to introduce Kylee Bandy, the founder of After Loss Advisors, who has a really interesting idea. Well, I don't want to say idea, it's really a business that started from an idea, and you'll share a little bit more on how that got started. I think this is a well-needed service for so many, and I can even share a story that I know personally that I wish I knew about you and your business prior. But before we go into that, just share a little bit of knowledge about your background and your professional background as well.
Yes, thank you for having me today. So my professional background and who I am, I was born and raised in Steamboat, Colorado, so not far from where Andie is in Vail, and have been in Colorado my whole life, love it here. And a previous career of mine was in the wine industry, in leadership and project management. And during that time in that field, my dad passed away in 2018, and my family was thrown into grief, estate management, all of the to-dos that come with managing an estate after someone's gone. And after we spent some time trying to navigate that, and even though we had some professionals supporting us, we just felt very alone in it. And like we wished we had some more support. It was after that, to your point, the idea came up of there should be a business, there should be somebody that's supporting families in this project management way, kind of taking my previous career background and saying, why is there not this scope of work for people at one of the hardest times of their lives? And that was kind of my why of starting this. But yeah, it's as you said, I think it's still a fairly unknown space, and I'm hoping that things like this and continuing to share the good word with people will let them know there is help when people need it.
I totally agree. So back to the story, I have my assistant who went through something similar. It was her grandpa who passed away, and he had his estate, and their family was trying to go through everything, right? And just work their way through what are the passwords? How do we deal with this? How do we find out everything? And they, in fact, I remember my assistant saying, gosh, I wish there was a service that would have made this so much easier and helpful. I can't believe no one's out there providing this service. And then lo and behold, unfortunately, it was after the fact, I said, oh my gosh, there actually is a company out there. It would have been so helpful for her and her family. I think they're still even dealing with a few things.
Yeah.
Just the little leftovers that kind of still you don't know about. So
yes,
I know even for myself, I recently even wrote down a bunch of passwords and instructions and started making my own list of things that, in case, God forbid, something happened to me, that at least I want to try to make it easier for those left behind, how to navigate through these different, areas that you just need to know. And I know it's an area people don't like to talk about so much before it's happened, but it is really necessary. So thank you so much for providing this service. So now I know there's a few different areas of service that you provide. So let's start about the consulting aspect of it. Share a little bit with everyone what that is about.
Yeah, so I think that's a great segue. The after loss consulting work that I'm doing is exactly for what you were describing. You're trying to help prepare the people in your life for if and when something happens. And often people aren't doing that. Over 2/3 of Americans don't have wills alone, let alone the passwords and all of the things that we need in our life. So when it comes time when there has been a death and someone like my family or your assistant's family is saying, where do we even begin? That's where my role steps in. So we work with people to help create a task plan of what needs to happen based on the individual and unique circumstances of that person's life. There's no one family I've worked with where it's the same because we all are very unique individuals. Somebody might have financial assets or crypto or real estate. They're all different. And so we start by doing an intake where we just say, let's get a really good rundown of what are we dealing with here. We try to make sure that we're covering all bases in terms of utilities, assets, real estate, social media accounts, tangible property, and tangible physical property. What are all of the things that are going to need to be gifted, dispersed, gotten rid of in some instances? If there's, in a home, if there's donations needed or junk removal, there's a lot that goes into these things depending on who the person was and at what life stage they were in. So that's our first step, is just inventorying what needs to be done. And then I kind of serve as that guide and proxy to be able to get a lot of those things done on behalf of the executor or the family. So maybe it's calling utility companies to notify them of death and request that the service be canceled or transferred to the spouse or next of kin if they want to keep it running. With financial accounts, it's also that same thing, notifying of death and then figuring out what forms need to be filled out in order to have these finances be dispersed to beneficiaries or transferred if it wasn't in a joint account. So I could go on and on because there's so many small little steps, like you said, that just take time, and they fall on these people's shoulders who are grieving and not in a place to want to have to do these tasks. I felt that we were saying, I just want to be with my family. I want to talk about my dad. I don't want to call XYZ utility company and have to have this conversation again. So that's a big part of with the after loss side. We help create the plan, execute the plan, and remove the burden off of the family's shoulders.
Yeah, it really is so needed. I have a question though. So let's say someone engages you to provide the preventative, right, service.
Yes.
Okay, like I started writing down on my list of having that. Do you actually have a secure system to be as a placeholder for passwords or all of this information? Is that part of your service?
Yes. So I partner with online services that do that and have gone through all of the security and storage and online data storage for that. So there's a couple of different resources that I recommend to people depending on their own budgets and what they're trying to accomplish. Some people are comfortable working with an online storage space and feel secure with having their sensitive information and passwords there. Others are not. So I try to meet people where they're at. If they do want to go the digital route, there's some great password managers like Bitwarden and Dashlane that really are very secure, very up to date with their lack of data breaches. And then there's also places where you can store all of life's important things, like you're saying. Trustworthy is a great option. And there's some more great ones coming out as well, where you can say, here is my tangible, again, all the things that I was just talking about, helping people after a loss. Those are things we should notify people of while we're still here. Peace of mind for us and for our loved ones to say, here's copies of all the important documents in my life, and I've scanned them onto this website. You are a trusted member of the site, and you can access it when I'm gone. So there's some really great digital tools out there that I feel very confident using and secure using if the person that I'm working with is comfortable in that space.
So how do you feel about if someone utilized you as a service and going, okay, I want to prepare, right?
Yeah.
I want to have this. I'm just not, and I understand this, like people are skeptical. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. About putting things up in the cloud and security systems and being hacked and whatnot.
Yes.
So if someone said, okay, I understand, I like your service, I like what you provide, don't want to do it as far as uploading, but have it written down. Here's the instructions, how to have it. Do you recommend that as well? Is that part of it?
Yeah.
Even a safety deposit box, or do you have other tools for them to use that's a safety net of where to hold that?
Great question. And yes. And the reason why is because I know some people who will only work with online storage vaults, online companies, because it is the most secure and it's a great tool. However, my big thing is I want to meet people where they're at. If you're not comfortable using an online tool for any reason, whether it's some people aren't comfortable using the online tool, some people don't trust the security, even though there are very strict standards set in place. I want to make it something that people feel comfortable, confident in, and that they feel confident in updating it. Because when we're doing legacy organization, which is what my services are called for that pre-planning that you're referencing, it's going to change because we're going to change. Hopefully we're doing it now and have many more years ahead of us. And so it's important that whatever format someone chooses, you update it every 6 months, every year, whatever cadence feels right. But I've worked with people even using locked Excel files. And so we lock them, so there's still a secure component, but it's still digital. And then there's tools like Knockbox that people may have heard of, NOK. It's next of kin box. That is a very, very detailed physical box that people can, and it comes with all the forms and categories that people can fill out. So I use that to work with some folks. and again, really just meeting them where they're at to see that it's most comfortable for what they're going to use.
Okay, so I have to ask one question that is the current mindset for some people of the cryptocurrency, right? Because the golden rule of crypto is you're not telling anyone, you're not even telling your next of kin, you are having that digit code, that whole really high secure process.
Yes.
So how do you handle the crypto aspect? Because that is a popular aspect.
It is, and crypto is tough for that reason. Tough in a good way. It's very secure, but if you don't have the tokens or the passwords you need to access it, it can be lost forever. Everyone's heard of the case of the gentleman who lost his hard drive that had the last token, and I don't remember the amount, but I mean,
there's a lot.
A lot. We're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars that he is still alive, still trying to find this code because he has one password guess left. So that just gives you the scope of what's at risk here if we aren't preparing. And so I think there are ways to have those secure tokens. For me personally, I have a very, very small amount of crypto, not worth, dumpster diving like this gentleman is doing to try to find his hard drive, but enough that I would want somebody to find it and to have those funds dispersed to them. And so for me, I use an online secure password manager that I know and trust called Bitwarden. And my secure tokens are saved under my crypto login information in that format. And if and when something happens to me, my husband and my brother are set up as secure emergency contacts who could access Bitwarden, this password manager, on my behalf after I'm gone. And I have it set up that they would have to wait 3 days. So it would email me first. So if there was any foul play while I'm still around, I would know about it. But if 3 days have passed and I haven't gone in and changed a password or said, no, this is not authorized, they would then get access to all of my information on there. So personally, that's what I recommend to clients to use, because to your point, if it's crypto and we have the token written down somewhere, technically anyone who can access our tangible belongings can find that. So there's risk involved as well with the paper format, if you will, just like there is online. It's just different risk. So yes, it's definitely a hot topic and continues to be. I know there are websites dedicated to helping people try to figure out how to navigate crypto alone. So it's a tough one that I think as a society, we're still figuring out, what does this look like? How does this become part of estate planning? How are we helping families navigate and access digital assets when they're gone?
Yeah, it's great. I just think more and more that's going to become something that's an important estate aspect, because more people are getting involved in crypto, and who knows in the future. And that also goes back to your point of updating everything, whether it's 6 months, yearly, because things change. And
yes,
it's awesome. So yeah, thank you for that. I know you also provide other resources within your services, such as like the grief resources, logistics and whatnot.
yes.
So explain a little bit about those services you provide as well.
Yeah. So we touched on the after loss component, and that is, again, full service, kind of concierge to what a family needs. Often that does look like getting the families connected with grief resources. I'm not a grief licensed therapist myself, but there's great resources within different communities locally in Colorado and nationally that I partner with. One that I really love is the Heartlight Center. They're a nonprofit based in Colorado, but with a national touch and approach that does free group grief resources for folks who are experiencing very specific losses. So you're not going into a group saying, I lost my spouse, and meeting with someone who lost a pet, or, all grief is valid, but all grief is also different depending on what happened there. So they get very granular, and loss of a spouse, loss of a child. So that way you're amongst people who are a little bit more in line with your specific loss. And then my other services, so we touched a little bit on what I call legacy organizing. That really stemmed from when I was working with after loss clients, them saying, okay, we had wrapped up our work, we had settled the estate for a spouse maybe. And they're saying, what do I need to do now to make sure my kids don't have to go through this? Because this is going to be a mess. I'm not organized, so they would have to go through what we just did if I don't get prepared. And so because of several of those conversations, I started offering those organization services. And again, utilize partners like these online platforms or the Knockbox to help people get organized, but I'm really doing that heavy lifting to go through all of the components we need to get organized. We go through paperwork. If it's in person, we're going through filing cabinets, making sure nothing's missed. And then I do offer packages where every 6 months, every year, I meet with the client again for usually just a very small amount of time, an hour or a couple of hours, to make those updates on behalf of the client. And those are my two main services: after loss consulting and legacy organization. I'm also a notary for the state of Colorado, which is just something I provide for my clients in person to help ease the burden. One less thing they have to worry about to go to do. And that's really where I try to support folks, is get our lives organized. And if you unfortunately are in a place where you're having to navigate this after a loss, I'm here for you in a concierge capacity as well.
Yeah, terrific. And just give people an idea on average on the initial consultation, or just getting things organized, how many hours approximately that would take.
Yeah. So on average for my legacy and organization clients, so getting prepared ahead of time, that's typically around, depending on how involved they want to be versus how much they want me to do, my average would be around 10 to 15 hours with those families. I've had some where it's less because they really just want the guidance of what to do, and then they get it all done. And we spend time making sure we've reviewed it and nothing's been forgotten. I've had others where we're doing a lot more tangible work. We're inventorying property, we're taking photos of personal property, that those can go over that amount as well. And then after loss clients, that ranges much more widely. If someone's grandmother has passed away, had an estate plan, and everything was buttoned up with the exception of a few items of personal property and maybe one account, that might look like a 10-hour project, versus I've worked on some much, much more complex estates where we're going 30 hours plus to support the family in the way that they need.
So how do you work with folks that are not near you?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Like we've said, I'm based in Colorado and in the Front Range. So in person, I work with folks mostly in this region. And then virtually, I can work with people at a national capacity. And so that looks like we're meeting over Zoom. But a lot of this work, again, I mentioned earlier, we live in a digital space these days. So much of what the entities, financial institutions, utilities are needing from an executor or family after a death can be uploaded and taken care of in a digital way. And so I'm working with the family the same way I would with someone in person. We're creating the task plan and executing the task plan. And I'll give an example. I worked with a family where the daughter lived in New York. Her dad had passed away in California. And so we were trying to figure out, how do we manage the logistics of this? She was needing to go back and forth for a few things. And so I was able to help navigate local resources in California for her, for the property move out, for the real estate sale, and as well as getting an attorney involved because probate was required. And so helped to vet that community for her. And then she was able to communicate with those folks, interview the top two I had chosen for them, and move forward with the partner of her choosing. So similar, the same quality of work, just a little bit more over the phone and Zoom.
But then also, if they need a little more hand-holding from afar, you have resources and trusted, I'm sure, relationships with people that even if they physically need help, because I know there are some clients,
yes,
digitally, they're not
exactly.
And so you would have people that actually could help them upload and
yes. Yeah. You bring up a great point that yes, there's always resources there, but there's also a growing space of professionals doing the work that I do. The PALS network, Professionals of After Loss Services. So I'm a certified member of PALS, and they are a fantastic organization really trying to help spread the word about what it is that the after loss profession is, what we do. And so, yes, there's actually just 2 months ago, there was somebody in Arizona who reached out to me that did need that more personal touch for what they were going through. And I was able to connect them with a PALS member who was based in the Phoenix area. So yes, to your point, always want to make sure it's the right fit for folks, and leaning on professional networks is a great way to do that for me.
Yeah, great. And even in the aspect of being able to gift this to someone, I think this would make a great gift. How many times you hear people that say, oh, I don't know what to get my family member or whatnot, because they have everything or whatnot. And I know people have their estate attorneys. This is an addition, just an add-on for those really, like, I don't want to say minute, but the minutia of the passwords and things that it's really important. And like you said, they're going through the grieving process. You don't want to have to deal with this. I think it's a great gift to give to a family member, or even having it as a family discussion and saying, hey, we all should have this.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that. And I think, to your point, it's the minutia that can sometimes be the worst part after someone's gone, because it feels so small of how it shouldn't be a big deal, but it can become one. It can snowball if we aren't preparing our loved ones. So that's why I started offering the gifting of the services of, to your point, what do you give someone who has everything? And attorneys are fantastic. I partner very closely with my legal partners, both estate and probate attorneys. And some are more detailed than others, but often they're not creating directories and passwords and doing a lot of the things that will still be needed when a probate situation arrives or when an after loss situation arrives. And I have had people who reach out too, where they've said, my friend lost their parent and I made them a meal and I don't know what else to do. I want to do more to support them. What else can I do? They're feeling overwhelmed. And so that's been able to be something that they've been able to gift someone a couple hours of my time to say, I got you this. It's for you to use when you're ready, but she can help take some of this off of your plate. And you always hear the gift of time is the best gift. And that's what I hope to give back to people in that regard of, let me give you some of your time back here to be with your family, go to a movie, do something that lets you be you and take a step away from this for a brief moment, at least.
Yeah. And the ease of the grieving process. I'll share a story here. This was crazy. Back, 20 years ago or so, my sister-in-law, who at the time was, I don't even think she was 50, and passed away unexpectedly. I mean, literally, they found her in the morning. She was a teacher and she didn't show up at school, went to the house. Unfortunately, they discovered she passed away. But unbeknownst to everyone, when they went to, I believe it was the bank safety deposit box, how intuitive was this? She, without knowing, she was not ill. She had in that safety deposit box everything written out of the passwords, not just the passwords and where everything is, the bills. She also said, in case I ever pass away, this is where I want to be buried. And at the memorial and the celebration of life, this is the song I want played. I mean, she had it.
What a gift.
It was such a gift to her 4 kids, who at the time were literally in their early 20s. Yeah. She was divorced. I mean, it was shocking, and it made this much easier. It took that burden off of them.
Yes.
And what a gift that she gave to her kids, because you just never know. So I'll never forget that. It was a great lesson learnred.
Yeah.
It's why I have written down some things, not everything. But I'm trying to get better with it, because you really don't know. And I have a special needs daughter, so I have a special needs trust, and that takes care of the financial aspect, but not really all these other things that in case something happened. Because I mean, and I've added to the list going, oh shoot, I forgot about that. There's a few things.
Yes.
So it is really, truly one of the best gifts someone can do. For,
I think so too. What an amazing story too. And that she had done, that's one of those happy little surprises during a time that's typically not very happy, just to, like you said, relieve that burden of having to make that choice. Or would mom have wanted this? Would she have wanted that? If we can tell people what we want, it's just one less thing that they have to think about during a time that you don't really want to think about these things anyways.
Yeah. It's not a subject everyone wants to talk about, but it really is important. It's so important. So really appreciate you having this business, sharing about this business. I think we do need to get the word out. That's why we're doing this. Are there any other factors in your, the legacy or estate organization that we've left out that you would like to share?
I think we've touched on a lot there. And I would just urge people to your point, it's not the most fun topic to talk about, but if there are conversations we can have and putting them down in writing or even recording on a voice note, I tell people it feels so overwhelming on the legacy side to get started. And it is, because it's a lot. We have our whole lives up here in our brain. And if something happened to us tomorrow, most people would not know what to do. And so start somewhere, start small, whether it's with me or on your own or someone else. I think that there's a lot of little things we can start to do. Like your sister-in-law, write a note and put it somewhere that someone could find it, or share it with someone ahead of time and just say, I was thinking about this. I just want you to know when I'm gone someday, I want this song played. And that's, in the moment, somebody might say, why are you sending this to me? But those can be those little gifts that mean a lot down the road. So I would say, again, just like all hard things, start small, start somewhere, and seek professional help if it feels overwhelming. And I'm just grateful to you, Andie, for allowing me to be here today to share that these services exist. And hopefully this reaches someone who needs to hear it.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a blessing to so many. I hope this, even if it brings a service that someone didn't think about to 1 or 2 people, I know it'll be to a lot more, but
yes,
just to be able to share this and give that gift of knowing that there's help out there for people. I'm very grateful that you're on here sharing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.